Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Good afternoon. I didn't say good morning. Good afternoon and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. The late Patti Fink is going to be very, very late today. She'll be with us next week. Our guest today is Jay Narey. He's the president of Stonewall Democrats of Dallas. It's the largest Democratic constituent organization in the state, not the largest gay constituent organization, the largest constituent organization in the state. But we'll be talking to Jay in just a moment. It is
Pledge Drive.
And hopefully it's our, oh, you know what? I'm just looking at the thermometer, which does work because it's on paper. It's not electronic. All of our electronics here in the studio are off. Our engineer is on the way to the studio, so we can't play any commercial breaks for you. We're sorry. We also can't take readings on the equipment, so we hope that the station is going out over the air. I have no idea. If it isn't and you can't hear me, give us a call. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Doc and our schizophrenic board operator, Chris and Josh are
both standing by.
But it is Pledge Drive. We're just finishing up Pledge Drive. We only have a little bit more to go. We would have been done had the station not been knocked off the air by that storm yesterday. I live about a block from here. And the first clap of thunder and this whole neighborhood was just no electricity. It was just sudden and trees down all over the place.
And it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. It was bright and sunny and just all of a sudden thunder and it's pouring and all the electricity is out and KNON was knocked off. But it is Pledge Drive. We need extra help right now with all of the electronics at the station being off. Hopefully it all still works as soon as it gets replugged in. But give us a call, 972-647-1893, and support KNON, the station that has helped or has supported the gay and lesbian community since 1983, 31 years. We just passed our 31st anniversary because we're one of the original shows that was on the air here in Dallas, on KNON here in Dallas. And we were one of the original gay and lesbian shows when they came to a group of people from Dallas Gay and Lesbian Alliance back in the 80s and said, would you do a gay and lesbian show? The reaction was, sure we will. And then they looked at each other and said, what's that? Because there wasn't one. KNON is one of the people that, one of the organizations that invented gay and lesbian radio because they thought that the, it's still going out, it's thundering if you heard that. According to the needles, I'm not looking at any computer things, but according to the needles, still going out over the air. But KNON helped invent just the idea of gay and lesbian radio because they believed in diversity throughout the community, and they thought, hey, you're a good part of this community. Come join us. So give us a call, 972-647-1893. That is 972-647-1893.
We still have our usual goodies that you can call and get. You can get the
Yes,
apron.
but we have some unusual ones.
Unusual ones. And this is a great deal. What's coming up? State Fair of Texas. You can call in with a pledge of $25 and get 2 tickets to that. That is a steal. I don't even know if you can get that cheap of a rate if you got take the what is it, the Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola cans?
Something like that.
Yeah. So that is a steal. Again, 2 tickets to the State Fair of Texas for only
And then they
$25
become tax
pledge.
deductible because on your check, not that I'm encouraging fraud, but on your check, you're going to just make your check or your credit card to KNON, not KNON in exchange for some tickets that we're getting. You're just writing it to KNON. KNON is nonprofit. Your donations are tax deductible. So if you'd like State Fair tickets, what do they need to do?
They need to give us a call again at 972-647-1893, and this is by credit card only. So again, give us a call, 972-647-1893, and they will be mailed to you no later than September 1st. The fair doesn't start until September 26th, so you will have them in plenty enough time.
And Erasure is going to be at the State Fair. House of Blues. Yeah, they're going to be at House of Blues.
But there are going to be some guests
all
at
this
the State
equipment not
Fair.
working here today, and my getting onto my computer like 15 minutes before I got to the station because our electricity finally went on. It has me like all. I know
Kind
what
of
it was.
frazzled.
Yeah, I mean, I went to church this morning as. You know I always do. Actually, I went to Cathedral of Hope this morning. I wanted to hear Janie Spar. She is fabulous. She is a character, and we're going to have her on the show. She was busy at this time, so she couldn't just come over to the studio. She's fabulous. We'll have her another time. But I went to hear her. Not my normal Sunday morning. Usually I'm sitting around preparing, so I'm completely today. In addition to State Fair tickets, which you can get for a
$25 pledge.
by calling
972-647-1893.
We also have tickets for
Erasure.
See, Larone and I are good at finishing each other's sentences.
That is awesome. I mean,
Erasure is going to be at House of Blues on the 15th and 14th. Well, actually, if I read it across the page instead of backwards, the 14th and 15th of October. The show's at 8 p.m. House of Blues is downtown in the West End, 2200 North Lamar Street. A $50 pledge gets you a pair of tickets. A $75 pledge gets you a pair of tickets and a T-shirt. And your donation tax deductible, 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. And we have 5 pairs for each show. Actually, we don't have quite that many left because some of them we gave away last week. Give us a call, 972-647-1893. Jay, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And it's nice to have you. We were, kind of thinking all week, what are we going to talk about? Then Rick Perry gets indicted. I said, well, we'll probably talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
the gift just keeps on giving.
Now, I know you're a big Rick Perry supporter.
No.
Oh. But let's just talk about this in kind of nonpartisan terms because
Okay.
everybody else is putting these into partisan terms.
Sure.
The prosecutor's office in Austin that is in charge of prosecuting any kind of public malfeasance, headed by the district attorney in Travis County. She's a Democrat, Rick Perry obviously a Republican, and both sides are portraying the other as just being partisan. But what are the actual charges here?
Well, I think the main crux of the indictment has to do with the coercion of a public official. It's not the fact that Governor Perry decided to use a veto to defund this public integrity unit. It's the fact that he threatened to withhold the funds unless a public official resigned her office. So I think that's the crux of the issue here.
Now, Larone.
Communicating with Josh.
No, Larone, when your fingers go like this, it means, oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I threw you off, but I was communicating with Josh. Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad you have your own nice little hand signals all of a sudden. We've been communicating with fingers, pointing fingers at each other for 15 years, and all of a sudden you have new fingers? Okay, so Perry's defense is going to be that I threatened to veto, I'm allowed to veto, the power of the veto, especially in Texas where all of the bills are signed the last week, and there's really no chance of overriding a veto, particularly. So the power of the governor's office really is the ability to veto. Shouldn't he be allowed to have said to the legislature, if you pass this money, I'm going to veto it?
Yes, nominally that is the case. That is within the governor's purview to do that. However, in this particular case, he threatened to withhold the funds from this public integrity unit because of the of what the Travis County District Attorney, her situation in having a recent DWI, and what he basically threatened to do was defund the department entirely unless she agreed to give up her position.
And that's the crux of it, that that he shouldn't have said that. Would it have been okay, do you think, and there's no way to really know what the prosecutor would have done, had it been okay for him to just say, after she was arrested for her DWI, she should resign? Should it have been okay for him to say, I'm going to veto that money for that department? Kept them as two separate things.
From a legal standpoint, I think that would probably be okay. I'm not an attorney, so I can't speak to that definitively. But
really,
yes.
We're asking you politically, do you think that would have been more palatable?
I think so. I think so. I think people would have seen it from a more objective standpoint as opposed to politically motivated. I think one of the critical issues involved in this particular case, and I think Governor Perry is trying to divert public attention away from the fact that this public integrity unit, overseen by the Travis County DA, happened to be investigating one of Rick Perry's business deals involving the Cancer Research Institute. And so he was under investigation by this particular unit at the time.
And just briefly,
already.
Just briefly, what's that investigation about?
Well, it basically has to do with how the funds were spent and distributed with regard to the Cancer Research Institute, and that story was carried in a lot of the papers around the state.
Money going to his friends rather than going to the lowest bidder or to the most qualified.
So he was already under investigation, and so I think that plays into this indictment a great deal.
That investigation's been going on for years, hasn't it?
I believe so. At least a year or two.
Is it over with?
I don't think so.
I'm not
certain. And if it is over with,
that means he can still be indicted for that also. Possibly.
I guess he could.
Theoretically,
but that
sure.
one's been going on much longer. Is it a just more complicated case or different prosecutor? Or why did this one come up much quicker? Because I was surprised when I heard that he was indicted. I just heard he was indicted. And then I read what the indictment was. I was surprised that it was over this instead of over that.
Right. Well, I really don't know what the impetus behind what the special prosecutor decided to pursue. I mean, that was up to him. And I think he chose, what he felt was best from a legal standpoint.
Yeah, I think one thing that we know about this, it's real easy to say in a partisan way, I think he's guilty, he shouldn't have done that, or, oh, well, this is all very partisan, and he had perfect right to veto legislation.
Right.
Because basically funding in Texas is legislation. It's, and he can veto it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have all of the information And this
I would
prosecutor.
agree with that.
Oh, I would imagine so. Of course, you will probably all see it played out, and things will come to light once the trial comes.
That's exactly my point. I've had the privilege of serving on the grand jury here in Dallas County on multiple occasions, and the evidence and the testimony presented to the grand jury is confidential, and that testimony is also under oath that can later be used at trial. So, as you said, I think more information will come out at trial.
Yeah, we just have the basics right now.
Right, and it wasn't Lemberg, who's the district attorney, who decides that he's going to be prosecuted. It is this grand jury.
Correct.
And the grand jury is just made up of citizens.
Correct.
Right.
Who don't have any particular background one way or the other.
Correct.
How did you get on the grand jury? I'm just curious.
Well, I think because I am fairly politically active in the area and know a lot of attorneys and a lot of the judges here in Dallas County, that basically what they do is my understanding is that each judge has like a rotational shift over the grand jury. And basically they ask for citizens who would be willing to serve, and then they put you in a pool of people that, would be willing to do it. And then if you happen to receive a summons in the mail, then you get to go in and possibly serve.
How many
but
times?
It's not guaranteed.
How many times were you called in over how long a period?
Well, by law, you can only serve on the grand jury once every year. You can't do it more than once every 12 months. So it's basically a 15-month rollover. And I believe I have done it over the last couple of years. I think I've done it 2 or 3 times.
Okay, so, but it's not something you're subpoenaed for, like the general jury pool.
No, it is. You actually receive a jury summons in the mail, and it's issued by the sheriff's office here in Dallas County. It's,
I mean, it's not everybody who would be. The grand jury are people who know they're going to be on grand jury.
Not
duty.
necessarily.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Okay.
it's basically because it is a 3-month commitment here in the state, and because the grand jury meets here in Dallas County, there are 2 rotations. There's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday rotation and a Tuesday, Thursday rotation. A lot of people, due to their employment or work or schedules or whatever, they don't have the ability to serve. And so what the attorneys and the judges overseeing the grand jury do is, find citizens, put together a random pool of citizens who have the ability to serve, and then they, I think, just randomly send out like a summons to serve on that.
And this is the reason I'm asking this. The Travis County grand jury was just a grand jury like this, put together randomly from people around Travis County.
Private citizens.
Outside of Austin,
Correct.
Travis County is fairly Republican, so it was probably a good mix of people.
I would think so.
And they're presented evidence that we haven't seen yet.
Right.
Correct.
And they thought that this would be a prosecutable case. Not that he's guilty,
Correct.
but that there's enough evidence
Correct.
to present a reasonable case.
Correct. And, my understanding is that the testimony that the grand jury heard, I believe that about 6 of Governor Perry's staffers were either subpoenaed or brought in to testify under oath. And as a former grand juror, I can tell you that, we take that personal one-on-one testimony very seriously. So in my mind, the grand jurors really had to feel that there was something there, or else they wouldn't have true billed the case.
I think that's interesting. So it was $7.5 million that he vetoed for that office. Travis County had to make up part of it in order to keep that office open. And we'll see what happens with this. And speaking of $7.5 million, if you have an extra $7.5 million sitting around, or $40 for a T-shirt, $50 gets you tickets to Erasure, $75 gets you an...
A T-shirt.
$75. $40 gets you a T-shirt. $75 gets you a Knon umbrella, and it is pouring out today.
Which would come in handy today.
We used our Knon umbrellas this morning several times when we went out.
And don't forget, $25 will get you into the state fair. 2 of you, 2 tickets. That is a steal. So if you like any of that, give us a call at 972-647-1893. Again, that's 972-647-1893. Josh, Chris, and Doc are all waiting to talk to you on the phone.
Erasure is going to be at House of Blues on October 14th and 15th. The show's at 8 p.m. House of Blues, of course, is downtown in the between Victory and West End. Those tickets you can get for a $50 pledge. $75 gets you the tickets and a T-shirt. You can be an elite music sponsor, and I know Patti has done this. Patti and Aaron have done this, where it's $500. It gets your name on the guest list to the 40 or 50 shows that we do every year. Some of them are at House of Blues, some of them are at Poor David's Pub, some of them are at the Texas Theater. We've done a few things here in the live music room. The Red Elvises, the Crawfish Boils, the Chili Cook-Offs, the car shows, and all that stuff that we do. $500 pledge gets you on the list for the full year, and gets you our eternal appreciation. We have a new way that you can pledge. You can pledge by texting KNON to 56512. That's KNON, and text that to 56512. The pledge form comes up on your phone, and all we need is your name, address, phone number, credit card number that you're pledging to Lambda Weekly or whatever show you're pledging to, and you get it done real quickly. Other ways that you can pledge: you can make do a bank draft. Bank drafts are nice; they're convenient, and they also guarantee regular.
That's right. And you don't have to do, a large sum amount, but if you do a small amount per month, it adds up over a year's time.
It does. And having hundreds of people that are already pledging $10 a month or $20 a month, that's good, steady income for the for the station. And so we really do appreciate people who do a bank draft. If you call in, Doc or Josh or Chris will take your name, your phone number, and the station pledge drive manager, Christian, will get back in touch with you sometime during the week, arrange what he needs in order to do that bank draft. So it's fast, it's easy, and I'm doing this as if I'm getting ready to take a commercial break. But as I'm God, you get into such habits. I'm looking over at our computer, which used to be our 8-track machine where we played our carts, and guess what? They're not there.
They're not there.
Right. So I guess our pledge drive sponsorship break would be KNON. Because it's pledge drive.
Right.
And we need you to pledge 972-647-1893. And I'll say it several more times because we don't have our break. Why don't you say it?
972-647-1893.
Please let me.
972-647-1893.
No, please let me.
972-647-1893.
Well, he's not going to let me say 972-647-1893. Give us a call, help support KNON. Our show, we were right on track to make our goal. Station looks like it's getting real close to our total goal and should finish up in the next day or two. Or even quicker if you pledge today. We don't really need that $7.5 million pledge to finish up this month's pledge drive, but if you'd like to pledge that amount, we probably won't need pledge drives for the rest of the year. 972-647-1893. Hey, if you don't, Jay is looking at me like,
but I love
what
your
are you
attitude.
asking for? I'm asking for $1 million from somebody. If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's true. If you don't have the $7 million, that's fine. The half we'll take.
$500,000?
Yeah, we'll take that
We'll
too.
take it. And you know what? You don't even have to pledge it all to Lambda Weekly. You can pledge it across the board, and we'll appreciate it. 972-647-1893. I think we've run off most of our listeners by now, but the ones that are still listening to us, Jay Narey is our guest. He is the president of Stonewall Democrats of Dallas. It's the largest constituent organization within the Democratic Party in Dallas. How old is Stonewall here?
Formally, we started in 1996, so we're coming up on 20 years.
On 20. There have been other political organizations, like DGLA and other organizations like that. Stonewall's a little bit different than those. DGLA is nonpartisan, and obviously you're not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I understand was that the impetus behind the founding of Stonewall Democrats came as a result of there was a gay and lesbian group, of course, on the other side of the aisle called the Log Cabin Republicans. And back in the mid to late 90s, they made a large local municipal contribution, was my understanding. And a couple of people got together and decided that there was a need for a gay and lesbian Democratic club. And that's how Stonewall got started.
How did you become the largest constituent organization? Because there are other ones like, there's a Mid-Cities Democratic Party. There is a, a Central Dallas, and I'm not calling it by the right name.
Well, there's Park Cities, Central Dallas Democratic Club. There's the White Rock Lake Highlands Democratic Club.
How did Stonewall become so big?
Well, I think that, the gay and lesbian community felt that there was a real need for civic activism. And I think over time it grew fairly rapidly because there was kind of a synergistic energy between the gay and lesbian community here in Dallas, as well as among the legal community, the attorneys, and particularly, once 2006 happened and the Democrats took over Dallas County, we have just gotten unprecedented support. And so right now, our actual membership is right around 300 people, but our reach, our distribution list is closing in on 1,000. So.
Oh, nice.
And when I've been to your meetings, you fill this room. You have 300 regular members, but 100 to 150 of them will be there at any one meeting. It's a very active group, too.
It is very active. We generally, depending on who our monthly speaker is, we have anywhere from 75 to 150 people attend. So when
I go and it's 150, it's because I'm going for... I'm going for the good speaker. I admit it.
Right.
No, you have some great speakers.
Yeah, we do, and we get some big names that come before us. We've had the chairman of the state party, Gilberto Hinojosa, in, and we get Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins in to speak to us. Everybody from the district attorney, Craig Watkins, and so we do get quite a few elected officials in to speak.
I want you to talk for a minute. You mentioned Clay Jenkins. We've talked about the immigration issue here on the show. It's not that, keep those kids. What are they doing? I heard Clay speak about it, and as much as I'm in favor of helping kids,
right,
it completely changed the way I was thinking about it. Just talk a little bit about his visit.
Well, I think that, when Judge Jenkins came to speak to our membership, he really was able to flesh out a little bit more of the backstory about these so-called immigrant refugee children coming across the border. Unbeknownst to a lot of us, these kids were regularly auctioned off by drug gangs in Central America, and if they are returned to their native country, they stand to be met at the airport basically by some of these gangs, auctioned off into either being a drug salesperson or a prostitute or who.
They're not going to be flown back and at the airport met by their families.
Correct.
They'll be taken off the planes and met by a drug cartel who will take this plane load of kids.
Right. Basically, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the backstory is just horrifying, and something needs to be done about what's going on in their country. But right now, until I heard him speak that night, I hadn't thought of these kids really as refugees who deserve asylum right now. I hadn't even thought of it in those terms. As much as I believe we should be helping kids, it was amazing. The other part of his story that I found interesting was he came to the conclusion Dallas County should help from talking to his daughter, who said to him, well, how old are these kids? Well, a lot of them are 10 years old, 12 years. Well, Daddy, I'm 10 years old. I couldn't just be left alone. And he's thinking, right. And that's where he came to this conclusion. What I find interesting is it never occurred to him that he'd be the only elected official in the entire country who came up with that conclusion after seeing what was going on. Didn't that surprise you?
Well, the one thing that has impressed me about Judge Jenkins is he really strikes me as a true progressive. He's not afraid to take political risks that might not be popular. Whereas a lot of politicians are very, very cautious. So I've been impressed with him as far as going out on a limb and trying to do the right thing. I know a lot of people.
He didn't go out on a limb. He went beyond that limb, out onto a twig at the very end of a leaf there.
Right,
and because it got to the point, I think he expected at the point he announced, okay, so San Francisco will announce something similar. And, Rahm Emanuel, who was the president's chief of staff, certainly has, probably a line to the White House. He can get through if he wants to. Easier than Clay Jenkins can.
Right.
Okay, so Chicago will take 1,000. This one will take nothing. Nothing from anywhere.
Yeah.
If anything, the exact opposite.
Right. Collin County, Tarrant County.
The ones who have stepped up to do what they can to keep them out.
Our surrounding counties.
Exactly.
Because it's a political hot potato, I think, that a lot of people weren't willing to touch.
I think that's the part of his whole stepping up to do the right thing that shocked him. Anyway, you're listening to KNON on 89.3 in Dallas, and it is Pledge Drive. We're just finishing up our summer Pledge Drive, and we need your help. Phones haven't been ringing today. I have a feeling partially because the station was knocked off the air for so long. Not everybody knows we're back on the air, but we are. Power went back on a little bit overnight and went off again. And
phone lines are up, right?
The phone lines are up.
Okay.
Phone lines are working. Okay. We'll check to see if they are. 972-647. Have we checked that?
Because I just thought about that.
972-647-1893. Are the phones not working? Phones are working. Okay.
So call.
Doc was confused about how the phones work, but Doc is often confused. 972-647. That's why we keep him on the show, because otherwise it just wouldn't work. Yes. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. KNON has supported the LGBT community for the 31 years that it has been on the air, and we're just asking you to help us a little bit.
Help us stay on the air.
To just say thank you to KNON for helping to invent gay and lesbian radio and make it what it is.
We say a lot that we're the longest running LGBT show in the world. No one's ever proven us wrong.
We can't find another one that has been on the air longer than we
I don't think we're the first to actually debut a show, but we're the longest running consistently
since that time. Others have come and gone.
Exactly. So let's help us maintain that.
Our expenses here at KNON are very, very low. But we do have expenses that amount to about $46,000 every month. The tower lease is our biggest monthly expense. So that's one thing. A $40 pledge, though, which gets you a T-shirt, a $40 pledge goes a long way toward paying this show's portion of that tower lease every month. Our office rent. Now, we are not over in the crack house in East Dallas anymore. In fact,
we are not.
That poor building is gone. The only thing that's left is the door to the studio. I had to turn around to make sure it is still there, which the door to the studio is sitting behind us. But other than that, building's gone. But we have a very nice studio, very nice offices, but it's reasonable rent.
Yep.
Compared to what any other station pays for their rent. Salary is extremely low, other than our station manager and a couple of other people who work here full time. Everybody volunteers here, so you're not paying the big bucks for
So they're not paying
radio personalities.
You're a big personality, David. They're not paying to hear that.
Or yours.
Or mine.
Right. And Patti gets paid, but it's late.
Very late.
Very, very late. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. You have a Larone report.
Yeah, this is just.
And that's your Lerone
This is my
report music.
Larone report music. Okay, all right. Sadly, Hollywood lost a comedic great this week, and the LGBT community lost a friend. Actor Robin Williams died of an apparent suicide at the age of 63. The Oscar-winning actor played an incredibly diverse of characters in his career, including 2 gay roles, and he did this before it was cool to do so. He played in Armistead Maupin's movie, The Night Listener, and guess what the character was? A gay radio host. Yep. And of course, I think everybody has seen Birdcage. Played in it also. And his probably one of his most memorable performances was in Mrs. Doubtfire, in which co-starred Harvey Fierstein as his gay brother. And prior to his passing away, he had 4 movies.
Oh, go ahead.
He had 4 movies that he filmed. One is he played another gay character, hasn't come out yet, and it's in a movie called Boulevard. So,
And there's another connection to the community. He did The World According to Garp, didn't he?
he did.
And
He
that
did.
had one of the first on-screen trans characters. He didn't play the trans character.
Right, but it had one in there. You're right. I forgot
and
about that one.
One of the first portrayals of a trans person on screen. So
And he was very vocal. He was a very vocal supporter of marriage equality. So he was definitely one of Hollywood's straight actors who was a friend to our community, and he will be missed.
Yeah.
So it was a shock, but I was a little shocked at the response on the internet about his suicide. Just there's been a lot of nasty comments about suicide. So you know, our community, we lose a lot of our teens to suicide. So I think, you know, if you're in trouble, you know, you think you're in trouble, please call somebody.
and
Seek help.
Yeah, they call the Trevor Project, call the National Suicide Hotline. You know, call somebody, call a local area church like Cathedral of Hope or Congregation Beth El Banah or one of the gay-friendly churches, North Haven United Methodist Church. One of the churches where you won't be judged.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the people I was talking to, I did an article about that in The Voice this week. One of the people I was talking to said, you know, it's usually portrayed as a cowardly act.
Yeah.
It's not cowardly.
It's not cowardly.
It's a desperate act.
It's a desperate act, and you know, depression is a verifiable disease, and people just don't realize that. Yeah, I was shocked that he passed away, first of all, and I was just really shocked at some of the response about suicide. People are just uninformed and not taking the time to think.
Right, but it is a desperate act. But
It
it's
is.
somebody who needs help. The other thing that I found was interesting. I was talking to Candy Markham, who comes on our show regularly. You know, she said, well, there are 2 types of depression. One is situational, and that with counseling or some help, you usually can get through those things.
Right.
Because there is a solution for everything.
And by
There is a-
situational, you mean like an incident happened.
Somebody died.
Somebody died. You're right.
A relation.
Transient.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, somebody, a relationship broke up.
Exactly.
Trouble with your relationship, that kind of thing.
Right.
you
As
can
opposed to
get
just
those through.
having suffering.
or even bullying,
Yeah. Oh,
which
yeah.
is situational, but you know you can get through it. There are ways to stop that. Schools, in most states now, can be forced to deal with it, especially if you have a big enough mouth. And you know what? There are enough people in the gay community who have big enough mouths. If your parents won't do anything about it, give one of the gay organizations a call and we'll do something about
Right.
it. Because it shouldn't be put up with. The other type, though, is a chemical depression.
And I think that's what Robin Williams was suffering from.
Sure.
And he's been vocal about it. He's talked about it for years. I just don't think a lot of people were aware of the extent that he was suffering.
It's treatable, though.
It is treatable.
Not curable, but treatable, and still has to be watched. Anyway, you're right. Very, very sad. We've been talking about some problems that Rick Perry is having in his last months as governor. How much of this do you think really is political retribution, Jay? And we're talking to Jay Narey. He's the president of Stonewall Democrats of Dallas.
Well, personally, I don't feel that this case is really politically motivated, primarily because of the fact that from everything that I have gathered and read about this case, The judge who appointed the special prosecutor, whom I believe his name is McCrum, the judge is a Republican. And from what I gather, this special prosecutor that was appointed is a fairly nonpartisan individual and has respect in both the Democratic and Republican communities. In fact, President Obama nominated him to be a U.S. District Attorney out of San Antonio, and he had the support of Kay Bailey Hutchinson and John Cornyn both. So that to
And
me,
actually, don't those nominations normally come from the senators?
well, typically they have to be approved by the senator. The senators kind of have a tacit ability to put the hold on somebody coming out of a state. But in this particular case, he had the support of both Kay Bailey Hutchinson and Senator Cornyn. So that to me says that this is an objective, legal person. So I don't think that this is in any way a political vendetta.
Mm-hmm. Now, he's been investigated on another charge that has to do with his directing money from the State Cancer Research Institute to friends rather than to the best person nominated.
Correct.
Do you have any other information on what's going on with that investigation, or are those so hush,
I don't actually have a lot of details on that, or I'm not aware of the details on it, I should say. However, the fact that that this is an ongoing investigation, and it was ongoing through D.A. Lindbergh's Public Integrity Unit at the time, really should give people pause. And I think that's really probably what the grand jury was thinking in this case, because of the fact that, okay, well, why is he's not threatening to veto the funds to the unit altogether. He was more than willing to give the funds to the unit, provided he could appoint his own person and maybe sweep the current investigation under the rug. Mm-hmm. So it looks really bad.
When is he scheduled to be booked and fingerprinted?
Well, from all accounts, I believe the arraignment will take place sometime this week. As to what day, I'm not sure. And how that arraignment will take place is anybody's guess. But
I think we're all waiting to see that mugshot.
and
let's just put it out there.
And whether he'll wear his glasses or not.
Right,
Wait,
right.
And that's what most TV news programs are concerned with, whether or not there will be glasses there. We need to take a break. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM in Dallas. I am Dave Taffet here with Lerone Landis and Jay Narey as our guest. Break over because...
I love it. No commercials.
What can I say? Creature of habit here.
Yeah.
The station was off the air, and certain machines are not rebooted yet, like our thing over there. What's it called? A computer that feeds the ads. There's another case that I just love.
But in the meantime, while he's looking it up, you can still give us a call at 972-647-1893 and talk with Josh, Chris, or Doc.
This one's in Idaho. Okay, so the Republican Party wasn't conservative enough in Idaho, and a group broke off called themselves the Constitution Party, and mostly what they're in favor of is anti-gay, don't like gays, and so they nominated somebody for governor who had left the Republican Party along with them. Turns out the guy's gay.
You can't make this stuff up.
I love that story.
And the rest of the story is that he is on the ballot and they can't get him off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because just too late.
It's too late.
Too late.
Now, how did they not know?
Well, because I guess he was never really out, but apparently he wrote a letter to the state attorney general in May asking him to not pursue. Idaho is one of those states whose marriage law has been declared unconstitutional, so he asked the attorney general, don't pursue this because, or the way the letter read was, as the only gay candidate running for governor. I'm asking you not to pursue this.
So he outed himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
When asked about it by his party, he said he didn't remember whether or not he wrote the letter to the...
Well, I would say
Wow.
he deserves that party, and that party deserves him.
Yeah, wouldn't you vote for him, though, if he was running? I mean, you're not one to usually vote for a far right-wing party, but couldn't you vote for this guy just because you want comedy in your state house?
Well, I think we already have that here. But
Indeed.
But yeah, if I wanted more, yeah, I guess I would cast a vote for him. But I mean, so what are some of the party members actually saying or trying to do to get him off the ballot?
They've just disavowed him at this point.
Gotcha.
Because they can't get him off the ballot. Now, the party is made up of 8 voting members, so it's not like it's a real political force.
How many?
8.
8?
Yeah.
Oh, so about the
there were
number
8
of people, about the number of people in this room right now.
Yeah. So it's not like when they went to the state convention,
Yeah.
this guy who was in the back of the convention hall got nominated. He was right there at the table, literally, with them.
Gotcha.
Wow.
So,
But he is on the ballot.
he is on the ballot. Wow.
Politics doesn't work quite that way here in Texas. You need more than 8 people to nominate you to get on the ballot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. I was reading, as I usually do on Sunday morning, the Charlotte Observer. You're laughing. No, actually, I got a news brief that Charlotte Observer had a story on being out. Reason Charlotte in North Carolina is in the news and talking about this is they have a lawsuit pending. It's a marriage equality lawsuit, and it's one of the only ones in the country like this. And what it is UCC and Reform Judaism and a couple of other groups have filed a lawsuit claiming that the marriage amendment violates their religious rights. You know, don't claim that marriage is a religious issue and then take away my religious rights.
Very good
to
argument.
get married. It's what I've been saying
and
for
you've
years.
been saying that for years. You have.
So anyway, Charlotte Observer did a story about being out and what it means lately. Now, Larone, you've been out for a number of years, haven't you?
I can't remember when I was last in.
Right. You have a big mouth and you're on the radio.
I am.
Jay, you're perfectly comfortable leading a gay organization.
Correct.
You've been out at work for years?
Yeah, oh yeah, years, decades.
Yeah. And I can't think of a time where I didn't even, well, I did work for a non-gay company. But I've always been out. You know, it's something that's so second nature to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They did a story about some people who aren't so quite out as we are, and you know there are some people who aren't as out as we are out there. Mm-hmm. They go to work, they live maybe in the suburbs, maybe in the city. They're quiet about it. They don't do anything about it. Well, some of them have gotten married. And even if they got married 2, 3, 4 years ago, all of a sudden after the Windsor decision, that has special meaning now. And it means, if nothing else, that you have to file joint taxes. And if you file joint taxes are taxed at a different rate than single taxes. You have to let your HR department know. So you have to out yourself at work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've always usually worked for a gay company. You haven't.
Oh, I don't know if I ever have, but I've always been out since at least 22, 23. Yeah.
And Jay, you have worked for a company that's very gay accepting.
Yes.
So being out has never been a problem
No.
at work.
No. For me personally, no. But, you know, I do realize that there's a lot of people out there that may work for particularly smaller businesses, family-run firms that may be rather conservative, and so they choose not to be out at work.
Right.
Right. And it's Not that hard to do that. Sometimes it's a conservative firm, because I did work for a couple of years for this one company that it was one of these companies where you had nothing on your desk. So it wasn't like, this one has pictures of the wife and kids, and this one has of the grandchildren, and I have nothing on my desk. Nobody had anything on their desk. The desk was a work area only.
Right.
And in fact, we shared desks because we worked different shifts, and it was an editing job where, you just pass on the edit. Okay, I got up to here, and the next shift comes in, and they edited their stuff. So it was easy to not talk about that kind of thing at work. But going to the HR department, you do have to out yourself, and that could be awkward in some conservative company in Charlotte, North Carolina. What do? You have to let them know. I mean, it affects your federal taxes. I mean, it would be fraud and you could be convicted of a crime for not, if you're married, to not file as married.
As much as I totally respect anyone's decision to be closeted in their personal lives or in private or at work, that's your prerogative. However, I think that's part of getting legally married. You should already know you're outing yourself to some degree. That's public knowledge. Anybody can look that up and see. And I would think part of the reason why you're getting legally married is so you can get tax benefits. You can get all the things that come with legal marriage. So
and tax benefits are one thing, but protecting your job is something else. You should have already thought about that. You should already know that. Well, and I guess what I'm saying is there's an extra thing when you get married. You have to talk about all these consequences. You can't get married so that these people know and those people don't.
Right.
Yeah. You had an incident, somebody Jay, we were talking before the show. Explain that one.
Well, basically, I know of instances where people have declared somebody like a domestic partner at work, and for insurance purposes, basically, and they end up having to pay a lot more for insurance premium and tax liability by having a domestic partner versus having a spouse. And so there are all kinds of consequences involved with the same-sex marriage decision. Particularly, if you live in a non-marriage state, particularly in the South or the Midwest, and you choose to say get married in California or New York or wherever, if your domicile is in a non-marriage state, those are considerations that you have to discuss with your partner and take into consideration before you make the leap and make that decision to get married, because it's a public document. Like you said, it's going to be very hard for you to stay closeted if you choose to be legally married. So,
I mean, and I had to go and make those changes. Well, not only did I switch jobs, but I had to make those changes also on our documents, and I was glad to do so. That's part of the reason why I got married.
And, well, the main reason you got married is Danny was pregnant.
No.
And you didn't want Gabrielle to be born out of wedlock.
No, she came a little over a year later.
Okay.
Yeah. So he wasn't pregnant yet.
Okay. I mean, he.
He. That's
Your
right.
husband's a he. But you were planning already.
We were planning already, yes.
One of the reasons that this is coming up now also is the last new marriage equality state, which was Pennsylvania, is the first marriage equality state where you can get married, but then you have no legal protections. So it's the first state that does not have a non-discrimination law. It's the first state where you can be fired for being gay or lesbian. You don't have that protection. So you can out yourself by getting married. It's perfectly legal to get married in Pennsylvania now, just like in any one of 18 other states. But it's the first one where you can get fired. I'm not sure whether Virginia, which may become marriage equality state number 20 this week.
I would be really shocked if Virginia did. And I mean, that is quite a conundrum. Because prior to this ruling, Virginia was the first state to pass a law that made against the law for two people of the same gender to even buy a house together, buy property together, or even will things to the other, unless it was a relative or something like that. I mean, they went above and beyond. We talk about the superdomas. They had an extreme superdoma. So I will really be shocked if they have.
But you will be able to get married.
But you will be able to get married now. So I'll be really shocked if they have a sexual orientation included in their non-discrimination laws on the state level.
Yeah, yeah. Pennsylvania is an interesting example of where there's lots of opposition. It's interesting that their governor, who's a Republican, he decided to accept the lower court's ruling and just say, okay, marriage equality can start. The Attorney General didn't want to defend the marriage law. They were figuring, okay, you can go right next door to New York, New Jersey, you can get married. Why not get married here? Why fight it? Why spend the money? And they accepted it. Some county clerks now are trying to fight it. One county clerk went as high as the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, no, you don't have jurisdiction to defend this for the whole state. And she's still trying to appeal that.
She is.
It's hard to appeal a Supreme Court ruling.
If there's something above the Supreme Court
don't know.
that I missed that in school.
They're filing new things at lower court levels. But
I don't know the makeup of the Virginia legislature, but I know the new Virginia governor, Terry McAuliffe, is very pro-LGBT rights. In fact, I think his first official act in office was a pro-GLBT piece of
a non-discrimination piece. Okay, so that answers it, that they will have protections
That's nice.
if they get married. They're still waiting till the beginning of this week through Wednesday. The Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts could stop marriage in the state because the Fourth Circuit, that includes Virginia, comes under Roberts. Chances are he will stop it, although when Sotomayor stopped Utah, it took about 3 weeks before she actually got a consensus of the court, because she didn't do it alone. She got a consensus of the court and put the stay on. He might do the same thing, or he might just say, just like in Utah, consensus here, and we'll put a stay. If not,
so I think they have what, till Thursday?
Thursday is the day marriage is scheduled to start. It could be stopped at any time, though.
Oh, that's
like
true.
Utah.
That's true.
They had it for 3 weeks. Arkansas had marriage for a week. Several other states have had marriage for a week or two, and then it got stopped.
If they do stop it after the marriages start, then again, then there goes the confusion. Are the marriages that have taken place so far, are they valid or not?
Right.
More legal confusion.
Speaking of valid, I don't have a good segue for that one. This is, because none of the computer stuff is working in the studio. That's my excuse. We need your bucks because none of the computer stuff is working. One lightning strike and everything's gone. We think this signal is going out over the air. We don't know.
We think.
We don't know. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Operators are standing by. But you know the difference between our operators and the ones at the other nonprofit stations in the area? Ours are right here in the studio rather than in a call center somewhere else.
That's right. You could actually call and one of us will pick up the phone.
We will, because we care and they don't. No.
Well, and I just want to tell your listeners, I made a pledge during last week's show because, when you think about it, how lucky are we here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to have a gay and lesbian radio show, with community radio? I think it's a great thing, and we need to, support it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah,
we really appreciate that. And every major city doesn't have one, you would think.
You would think.
At one time, HRC was calling around. They wanted to get a list of all the shows. And they called me and they said, there isn't one of these in every city. Isn't that, it's 1 hour a week. Doesn't every city that has 50 or 60 radio stations, don't they have 1 hour that one of those stations can devote to a gay show? And I said, well, it made sense to us 30 years ago, and we've continued to do it, but, apparently not.
And you would think, like, the gay capital of the world, San Francisco, they don't even have one.
No, they don't. So give us a call, 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. We still have some Erasure tickets to give away. That's for a $50 pledge. It gets you a pair of tickets. $75 gets you that same pair of tickets plus a T-shirt that you can wear to the concert that night to tell them, we didn't really buy these tickets from you. We actually made a pledge to KNON.
That's right.
972-647-1893. That's for Tuesday, October 14th, and Wednesday, October 15th. Really, it's a Tuesday night. You don't have anything to do in October.
And don't forget, the State Fair is coming up. Everybody loves going to the State Fair. We have 2 tickets for $25. Not $25 each, $25 for a pair. That is a steal. And you'll get the tickets by September 1st. The fair doesn't even start till the 26th, so you'll have them in plenty of time, and you got almost a whole month to go to the fair. That is a steal. Please give us a call and get those tickets at 972-647-1893. Again, 972-647-1893.
I was going to say something. I have my list.
Your list.
Stuff you can say on the air. KNON doesn't sell its donor list to anybody. We don't sell your information. We don't even have a computer that's on in the station
No,
here.
we do not.
So how are we going to ever collect that information? Can you imagine, we'd like to buy your donor list, and we hand them the stack of paper.
So don't worry about that.
Yeah, we don't sell your donor list. And this station has always been about being live and being local. Can you think of another station that has as many live local shows as this one does?
I cannot.
Because there aren't any. There's one station that's like that down in Houston. It's all live, it's all local, it's all about us here in Dallas. And volunteer DJs broadcast 24 hours a day, so your money is going really to the operation of the station. It's not going to a whole lot of fancy frills and, you know, and $1 million studio that other stations that ask for your money spend their money on.
Right.
Not that I would ever put it down another station. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647. Yeah, I lost my place. 972-647-18. You know, somebody asked me what my phone number was. Somebody asked me my phone. I can't remember my phone number, so I'm supposed to remember 972-647-1893 just because I've been saying that number for 30 years. Over, I figured, more than 350 pledge drive shows that I've done. No. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Thank you. The phones are ringing. And
we are out of time.
We are out of time. Are you guys ready to go on the air? Because we have no music to go on in between. I'll do the top of the hour station ID. At the start of every hour, you must play or say the legal ID. You're listening to KNON in Dallas, 89.3 FM.
Thank you, Jay.
My pleasure.
No music?
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227. Or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.